Right team, video 3. In the previous video we talked about the heroes, the scout, the gunner and the medic, and we explained that the conscious mind is in control. Alright, it's the leader, it's leadership. Command and control of your subconscious body cards comes from the conscious mind. In an instant attack, there is no conscious thought. In an instant attack of any form, there is no conscious response. It's an immediate action drill. That's why it's called an IA. You don't want to have to tell your subconscious bodyguards to immediately defend you if required, because it slows you down. That's why most of us that have had a high level of training in combat, is as soon as there's a loud noise or something happens, boom, we're straight into a drill. Whether that's a defense and firing a shot out, or it's a full round on fully automatic, going down, target indication where you're changing your mag, your cover scout comes out, gunner suppresses, section commander comes up there and goes, we're going left and right flanking, straight up the guts, we're going to do a tactical for draw, I'm going to call in fire support. Right? Natural. These are our drills. In the civilian context, it's exactly the same. And you know what they call that? Fight, flight, or freeze. All depending on how you've trained your subconscious bodyguards, or if you've trained them at all. Alright, so let's now talk about the villains. And this is where most people start. They're like, you know, I've got these signs and symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. I've got hyperarousal, I've got hypervigilance. I'm suffering from depression and numbness and anxiety and panic attacks. There are all these other terms that they give in the psychological world where I just changed all that. I just created characters for how I was behaving. So this was me. I was a werewolf. Constantly getting attacked, constantly having to fight with people, trained to fight. It got to the point where I had no control over that anymore. I became a werewolf because of the trauma that I went through and what was going on in my head. My gunner that was supposed to be disciplined, he couldn't handle it. He wasn't doing a strong enough job because my conscious mind was out. All right, so I became a werewolf. You get a full moon, you got the werewolf. Sadly, anyone that activates the full moon gets the werewolf. That's family, that's partners, that's kids. All right, and that was the start of my journey. So there's a comic in here where I was doing the dishes at home, and my 5-year-old daughter was sneaking up behind daddy to give daddy a fright, and then she went boo, and then she saw the werewolf, right, and it scared her, it broke my heart. So I started this journey. Okay, so you've just found out what one of the villains are. That's the werewolf. And what happens is, and this is the whole concept that goes from heroes to villains, your heroes are doing the best they can. But if your subconscious section commander, your conscious mind, your section commander goes, then one of those other bodyguards has to stand up and take control of the section. Okay? And depending which is the strongest will then dictate how you think, feel and behave. So if your conscious mind goes AWOL because of trauma, drink, drugs and all the rest of it, one of those subconscious bodyguards will stand up. Now, if it's the scout that stands up, you're going to be more aware of dangerous situations. You're going to back off a little bit and be very, very cautious. Okay? Your trust level is going to start coming down. Right? Your gunner, if he's the strongest, he will stand up and he will be more protective. All right? He will start pushing people back a little bit. He'll be a little bit more defensive in thoughts, feelings and behaviors. All right? And then the medic, if she stands up, and I call her a her because to me the heart's always is always a female when it comes to the caring side. And I'm a mummy's boy. All right, talk about that later. So the medic, if she stands up, it's all going to be about your feelings. It's all going to be about protecting your feelings. Again, trust is going to come down a little bit. Sensitivity is going to go up. All right? So the conscious mind is absent. Whichever is the strongest out of your subconscious bodyguards will stand up. All right? Because that's how we're trained. And then depending which one stands up is how you're going to think, feel and behave. Now, if this goes on for too long or the trauma is too strong, the heroes can't do the job that they want to do. So they manifest 100% of their energy 100% of the time. They morph and they become the villains. The scout that looks for danger becomes the paranoid assassin. All right? And the paranoid assassin, instead of looking for danger, will now see it everywhere. Trust is gone. All right? Paranoia sets in. That's why it's called the paranoid assassin, but he's still an assassin. He gets attacked, he's going to react with violence or aggression first, then pop smoke and disappear. If you try and help someone that's a paranoid assassin, you know if they're a paranoid assassin because you're a magnet on opposite polarity. Every time you reach out, they withdraw. They don't want to be found. They're going to attack, pop smoke and disappear and stay hidden. All right? The hardest thing that's heartbreaking, helping someone that's a paranoid assassin, is trying to connect with them, because if you go to them, they withdraw. All right. In another video, we'll talk about reinforcement. So the book is very powerful for a paranoid assassin because you can put it there. He can look at it through his scope, look at this video, look on Facebook, get everything that he needs to process without having to come out of cover or concealment. Okay, so that's the paranoid assassin. Your scout is morphed into the paranoid assassin. The gunner, your physical protection that was strong but disciplined, morphs and becomes the werewolf. You get a full moon, you get a werewolf. All right. So I created moon state charts in this book. What takes you from no moon to full moon? Let's map that out and let's find some silver bullets. Okay, silver bullets are situations, words, or people that immediately stop the werewolf. All right. When I manifest as a werewolf, my kids, my wife, they know exactly what to say and exactly what to do. Stops me in a heartbeat. All right. Instead of walking around on eggshells for all the partners and kids, don't have to. If your partner's a werewolf, figure out the moon state chart and the silver bullets. You'll get them under control. All right. Last one, and excuse my language here, is the medic. All right. She morphs. She's about feelings, right? She morphs, and that bitch becomes the vampire or the ghost. All right. And she'll act in one of two ways. She'll act as the ghost, fucking freaking you out all the time with nightmares and flashbacks and fuck, don't do this sort of stuff, you know, because it's a reminder, it's a reminder, it's a reminder, it's a reminder. Because she's trying to protect you from going anywhere near that situation. Now, it's annoying. I had the same with nightmares of dead kids from being a police officer. Never happened until I had kids and I had left the police. All right. Then I started having all these nightmares and flashbacks. What the fuck's going on here? All right. And then once I talk you through the process and how to deal with that, it was very simple to deal with. So the medic morphs and becomes the ghost with the flashbacks and the nightmares to constantly remind you of that bad thing so it doesn't happen again. It's still a protective mechanism. All right. Stay with me. Or she will be like the vampire. All right. She will latch onto you and she will suck the feelings out of you so that you become numb. So that nothing can reach you, nothing can hurt you. She wants to pull you down into ice cold water and keep you numb so your feelings can't be hurt. Now, if this is happening to any of your partners, they start withdrawing. Again, trust, gone. Connection, gone. Feelings, gone. The problem with our military training is that it shuts down every other emotion except for one, controlled aggression. That's what most people get. Now, if you're trying to keep control of that controlled aggression, an argument with your partner and your kids and all the rest of it, you're either going to react with aggression, you're going to lock it down and walk away, disappear, withdraw. Okay? So we had the scout, the gunner, and the medic. They morph, they become paranoid assassin, the werewolf, or the ghost or vampire. Now, when we talk about suicide, first and foremost, if you haven't been through it yourself, it's not a coward's way up. It's not people giving up. It's not people surrendering. Okay? It's always seen as a solution. When I got to the point where I'd had enough, it was for this reason. A werewolf, the person that's manifesting as a werewolf, myself and other people that I've dealt with, she gets so tired of fighting all the time. Just tired. Just want to go to sleep, not wake up. Then all the problems that I'm creating as a werewolf will go away. All right? Wrong, but that's how you feel. The paranoid assassin wants to commit suicide so that no one can find them. What's the best way to hide? The best way to be in full cam and concealment? Not be here. Be dead. All right? So very effective. Wrong. Last one is the ghost or the vampire. You just want the pain to stop. You want all those memories to stop. So the best way that that can happen is to be dead, right? Because then no one can hurt you, okay? Wrong, because even though you see that as a solution, all of those you see as a solution, you're thinking it from the point of view that there's something wrong with you. That's why I said wrong 3 times, because there's nothing wrong with how you feel, okay? It's actually a positive. It's actually the good news about PTSD, because your subconscious bodyguards are still trying to protect you. They're still trying to do their job. If you train, and I'm no disrespect to anyone, but I just have to say this brutally honestly, if you train a dog to bark every time someone knocks on the door, then all of a sudden you don't like that anymore and you kick that dog every time it barks, what have you done to that dog? That dog is just going to be confused. You've trained me to do this every time this happens. Stimulus, response. Stimulus, response. Now you don't like that response anymore. You try and give me another stimulus. You haven't done anything else about the original one. And this is where a lot of the psychs that I talk to now are using my concept called deploying home. All right? This is one of the fundamental flaws in every defense force. All right, they don't like hearing this, but that's changing now. Those that are looking for a critical debrief will get this, okay? We're going to deploy to a country. First thing we do is learn everything we can about that country, right? Then we get told what is going to be your mission when you go there. Based on what your mission is when you go there, they will create your ROEs, your rules of engagement. You are going to this country to provide this capability. So this is going to be your mission. Your rules of engagement are, if presented with this threat, you can do this. If this happens, do this. If this happens, do this. Those are your rules of engagement. From those ROEs, a pre-deployment training management plan is created. We now have to train our people to be able to operate in that mission in this country, right? We're in this country, going to this country. So we learn everything about this country, we find out what our job is, we get our ROEs, we bring it back to our world, we create the training management plan, we pull that down to pre-deployment training. Then everyone goes through and gets stimulus response, stimulus response, stimulus response. The immediate action drills match the ROEs, which match the mission in that country. That's the pre-deployment cycle. It's very effective. Just about every country that anyone's deployed to has done very well once they've arrived there, if the training package matches the role that they're doing in this country. Because there's been horror stories. People get trained to do one job in this country, they get there and they get told to do another one. They haven't been trained to do it. So what do? They fall back on their highest level of training. If the mission is hearts and minds, and you've been trained in flipping bait and switch and flipping traps and cordons and destroying and all that whole attacking offensive mentality, and you get put in a defensive role, what do you think is going to happen when something happens? You think you're going to stick with that you haven't been trained for? You're going to go straight to your highest level of training. And that's what happens. Now, coming home. All right? Every defense force gets this wrong. They're only up at decompression stage at the moment. It still doesn't work. So, when we come back from that country, we're now coming back to where we started. That country is now 6 months, 12 months, sometimes 18 months older than when you left it. Everything's changed. But we haven't run the whole pre-deployment process to come back home. And everyone's all confused when people come back from war, back from another country where their lives been at risk. They go shopping and they're reacting with the same drills that they were trained in. That's not confusing to me, that's logical. So we don't come home, we have to deploy home. So all of a sudden we're in this country we've been operating, we're now going back home to New Zealand, to Australia, to the UK, to the US. You must run the same system. This is the country now, guys, that's 6, 12 months older. We're going back there and our ROEs have to change. Guess what the ROEs are called back in your own country? It's called the law, right? So now you should be creating a training plan to come back. Now, you don't get psychologists and counselors to train you in pre-deployment training how to battle in war, do you? So why are you expecting counselors and psychologists to train you on how to come home when it's the same deployment process? Makes no sense to me. So, what happens now with your subconscious bodyguards? They're trained to operate in this world. And now we're kicking them and telling them there's something wrong with them, there's a disorder, because they're barking every time someone knocks on the door. You've got to run the same training cycle. And that's the answer that I came up in the book. It's just training. Now at this point, this is if you haven't suffered from any traumatic brain injury, drug-related stuff, that whole world. This is just within your own head. If you're struggling with, I've got a disorder, I've got hyperarousal, hypervigilance. No, you don't. All right? What you got is a high level of training with a high level response. That is a habit that is instinctive and reactive because your subconscious bodyguards are highly trained. There is nothing wrong with you. If you understand this process, you can rebrief, retrain, and redeploy your subconscious bodyguards. And in the next video, I'll give you a little bit of a glimpse on how I did that by creating some reinforcements. My role is to get you safe within your own head and figure out that there's nothing wrong with you. Run your process so that you can at least introduce your subconscious bodyguards to someone that can help you rebrief, retrain, and redeployment. That's my job. All right? See you in the next video.